All right, welcome to my channel, Fury of the Northman. Happy to have you. On this channel, the content that I'm going to put out is going to center around concepts involving money, building wealth, investing for retirement, paying off debt, how to manipulate credit, how to make your finances work harder for you, how to make your cash work harder for you, and some out-of-the-box ways to do that. The purpose of this channel is to motivate you and empower you to believe that you can actually succeed and achieve success in the areas of finance and employment, entrepreneur attitude, starting a business, whatever the case may be. I'm a firm believer that before we can really do anything successfully, we have to first think and or feel that we can. It's extremely important that we think and or feel that we can, and then switch it from there, and or it evolves from there into we feel that we can, and then we start making choices to make what we feel and what we see in our mind's eye a reality. And sometimes we need to see others and hear others and how they've succeeded in the areas we're interested in, and how they've, progressed through their life, that will give us sort of a roadmap into how we can do the same thing. It's extremely important that we always see what we want to do, or see someone else doing what we want to do, because when that happens, we can then within our own mind say, oh, maybe I could do that. So this channel is going to be all about motivating, empowering. Real quick, I'm going to go into the channel more, but I just want to prove my point to you about believing that we can do something once we see it happen. This is kind of a weird example. Get strapped in, but it's valid. I'm sure by now, anyone who's watching this, or even if you're not watching it, you probably know, of the horrific man that is Bill Cosby. He's going to go down as arguably one of the greatest villains of our era. And his legacy is destroyed, it's tarnished, there's no way to make amends for that. And as the years go by, since his rape allegations and the ladies coming out basically, verifying that it happened, things are, more stories are coming out, it's only getting worse. So he's a terrible man, we know that. However, there is something that's important that we can draw from his story that can really speak to us as far as seeing others being successful, and therefore ourselves believing that we can. As terrible as Bill Cosby was, The Cosby Show, when it was on television, when it was a weekly option for people to view, represented a watershed moment, and or a fault line's the wrong word, but it basically was a point in time where from the second that show came on the air, it gave black kids an ability, an option to see a black man and a black woman in a higher form of employment, being a doctor and a lawyer, right? And from that moment, because of that show, there's a direct correlation and causation. Correlation doesn't equal causation, but there's a direct correlation and causation of, from that moment, the percentage and or numbers of black kids that said, I'm going to go to school to be a lawyer, or I'm going to go to school to be a doctor, skyrocketed. It went through the roof. And the reason that is because really for the first time at that point in American history, in color, on color TV, probably in cable, on cable network, I would think, black kids had the opportunity to see someone that looked like them achieving in a way that previously they thought was unheard of or not possible, right? And the point to me saying that, and if you don't believe me, I'd encourage you, if you have black folks in your life, if you're fortunate enough to have different types of friends, go ask them that. Obviously be respectful about it, and just ask them maybe the importance of the Cosby Show on black folks in America, and they'll probably tell you. I'm fortunate enough, I have good people around me that don't look like me, and it affords me the opportunity to see through someone else's eyes. But the point to me saying that is, as terrible as he was, which, and is really, he's a terrible person probably to this day, the importance of Bill Cosby and his show on showing black kids that we can be more than what society tells us, or even what our parents tell us, or what our culture tells us. We can be doctors. We can be lawyers. That happened, okay? They saw a man and a woman who looked like them achieving and succeeding at a rate that they didn't think they could. And from there, the ones that believed it after seeing it went and pursued it, and a lot of them succeeded, right? And that's a powerful point, because what I want this channel to do is to empower you through a visual aid, as well as obviously, hearing as well as seeing. We want to see oftentimes what we hear. If you like music, you love to listen to it, but the next level up is watching someone play what you're hearing. It's a very exciting thing. I mean, all of Rush fans, they love when Rush plays a super technical part and they nail it live the same way they do on the record. And that's because we love to see and hear. It's both. So I want this channel to serve as a tool for you to see and hear people succeeding, as well as different ideas on how to succeed, as well as different ideas on how to make your money work harder for you, maybe how to be more savvy, right? Because the truth is, concerning our money, there's so much stress and there's so much frustration concerning our money that many times we all feel like our back's against the wall. And I would argue that the vast majority of America probably is in that position. If not the vast majority, I would say at least half of America is in the position of where they feel like financially their back's against the wall. And because of that, because their back is against the wall, I believe they're stuck in survival mode. I know I was. There were days where I didn't eat, or if I did, it was a bag of potato chips. And when you're in that survival mode and you're barely making it, it's very difficult to not think solely in survival mode. It's extremely difficult to get out of sort of the reality of just day to day, barely making it, moment to moment, right? It's very, very difficult. So if we can see someone and hear stories and motivate us to do that and give us a plan of attack, right? I'm not somebody that thinks, just, says a speech on stage, now go out and do it, and there's no plan of attack. That's fruitless. There's a good old saying, fail to plan, you better plan to fail. But if we can see someone doing it and give us a plan of attack or a playbook or a path that we can walk to make our money work harder for us, as well as cause us to change our behaviors, then we can change our reality. We can get our back up off the wall. And once that happens, we can start to pursue the more elegant and wonderful things of this life. I have a quote, I think it's mine. I made it up. I don't think anyone else has said it, but it's this: you cannot ponder the stars if you're starving to eat or unable to pay your light expense. I'll say that again. You cannot ponder the stars if you are starving to eat or cannot pay your light expense. And again, back to what I said earlier, the reason that is because you're stuck in survival mode. It's moment to moment. It's day to day, okay? And you can't go past that existence, which means you can't build wealth, you can't find peace financially, you can't have a peaceful home. Everything's a struggle. So what I want this channel to do is to empower you to believe that you can succeed, you can be successful concerning money, finances, investing for retirement, building wealth in ways that are outside of the normal concepts of investing for retirement, as well as success on the job. If you're not someone who has a business, or you're not entrepreneurial, but let's say you're a corporate guy or a gal, or you're someone who it wants to get plugged into a good company, ways to succeed in that area as well. Also, being entrepreneurial and how to think differently about how you want to make money, etc., etc. If we can see it and hear it and then start to do it, we can make it a reality. That's what this channel is about. There's going to be, for the most part, 3 episodes a week. Monday is going to be the episode where I talk about concepts concerning money, budget, manipulating credit, investing, building wealth, etc., etc. That'll be sort of the me telling you what I think episode of this channel, talking about money. Wednesday, the second episode, is going to be strictly motivational. Strictly motivational. As I said earlier, we have to first think and or believe that we can do something before we will even take the step to do it. They've actually done studies that show without emotion, without an emotional pull, it's actually very difficult for humans to choose between one type of food or another, or choose really anything at all. We have to have that emotional gut, visceral, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to go, to even make it to where we can, yep, I want to go that route. How we trigger that, how we get that going, is that we motivate ourselves on a daily or weekly basis. And I believe that the motivation, the belief that we can, is as important as a plan or even just thinking that we can. Because the truth is, whatever plan of attack or path you choose to take in life, you're going to hit pitfalls. You're going to hit moments where you're going to think, man, what am I doing? Is this working? Am I on the right page? Am I even thinking correctly? And the fact of the matter is, you probably are, but you're just hitting some rough spots. And if you don't have that internal motivation, that internal belief to get you through, you won't succeed. The great Shia LaBeouf said, if you're tired of starting over, stop giving up. Now, some of you may think Shia LaBeouf's a joke. Some of you may not take him seriously. I love some of his movies that he's in. But regardless of what you think about him as a person, that statement that he said is 100% accurate. If you're tired of starting over, stop giving up. And one way to stop giving up is just to keep going and keep pressing in because you believe you can. And that's really what I want, the Wednesday episode of this channel, this content, to be and to do for you, is just to motivate you, get you over that hump day. We all know Mondays are tough. Call Wednesdays hump day for a reason. It's that that midpoint of the week. It can be brutal. It can be, at that point, you can be completely energy drained, especially if you have kids. I have 2 kids. Sometimes I'm like, man, Wednesday, gosh, when's the weekend get here so I can just relax? Excuse me. But the Wednesday episode is going to be solely based on motivation. Friday's episode is going to be the segment I call Get to Know the Northman. I'm a firm believer that if someone's going to be telling you how to live or suggesting how to live, whether it's money, marriage, finances, philosophy, politics, whatever the case may be, it benefits not only the person promulgating the idea, but also the listener. If the listener can have a little bit of a peek or peer slightly into the actual private life and or private aspects of that individual that makes them tick. Obviously, we all have private lives. To a certain extent, we need to protect that. But I think it's important that we see each other in one another, if we can, for the purpose of these ideas connecting and taking a deeper root. Again, going back to Bill Cosby, not a great person. I by no means condone what he did, but him being on TV with his wife, I believe he was the doctor, I believe she was a lawyer. These little black kids and these young, maybe black adults who were maybe in the midst of college or hadn't got there yet, they were able to see that person look like them, and they were able to go to the next level. So my goal for Friday is I'm just going to talk about what I'm interested in, what I think is cool, what I enjoy. And if it resonates with you, that'll be great, because as people, even though we might not ever meet, we can connect over this medium. And what I'm saying can take deeper root within you and hopefully help you succeed. Because my wife and I have become very successful. Everything I'm going to talk about on this channel with this content, my wife and I have done. It's been great for us. We've achieved great things. And I believe you can too. I really believe anyone can, regardless of level of intelligence, IQ, ethnicity, gender, whatever. I believe everyone can succeed. Now, it's not all the same. Not everyone can achieve the same things, right? But everyone can be successful. So Friday's episode is going to be about that. Just basically what I find interesting. Comics, music, movies, books, guns. I can't wait to talk about whiskey. I love whiskey. We're going to get all into that. It's going to be fantastic. But again, that's an effort for me to, on my end, to give you some information about me that possibly you can connect to, so that you can say, hey man, this is someone that I see myself in. Maybe he isn't full of shit. So that's the purpose of Friday. Once a month, I'm going to interview people in my community who are successful. They've either work their way up through a company and become a manager and executive, or they've taken that leap from that small position, working their way up to now they're the owner, or it's an entrepreneur who started a business, started small, built that business, worked their way up, and now they're successful. They're hiring other people. They're their own dynamic force in the community. And also two people that just started out, at a very small status or small way, innocuous in many ways, and just were able to work themselves up through the ranks, and now they're, sort of a big wig within their own industry, sort of a well-known name. So, and there's people, I'm very fortunate where I'm at. There's a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of more higher elite professionals. So it's really a breeding ground for you and for me as well to hear people speak and tell their stories and glean from them the information that they've can give us, that they've had through their life, because it can help us. And we're talking about barbers, we're talking about restaurant owners, we're talking about publishers, anything. There's value in anyone's story where they've been able to start at a certain place, work their way up, and build success. Whatever the profession they're in, there's value there. So once a month, we're going to interview people. Also, periodically, not so much scheduled, I'm going to do rant videos where I just pop up and I, real quick, will just say what I think about what's going on in the market, with our economy, with our society, how it affects us with money, some of my opinions on whether or not we need to prepare for the worst, yada, yada, yada. That won't be scheduled. The Monday, Wednesday, and Friday videos will be scheduled. The interview video will always be in the last weekend of the month. But the rant videos that are going to come out will just be if I see something or read something that interests me and I want to talk to you about it. That's basically the breakdown of the channel. This is the introduction video. So I just wanted to make sure and give you guys a heads up on what's going on. Having said that, at this point, I do want to have the first talk today from me to you about what I think is important to start this channel off right. It's very basic, and it's budgeting, okay? What everyone should do concerning budget, and I know what you're thinking already. You're thinking, this is basic, I don't need to do this, I don't need to talk about this. I've read the Dave Ramsey book. Great, fantastic, don't watch. Come back Wednesday. But it's the basic things that actually trip us up. It's the small stones that trip us. It's the small, holes in the ground or divots or whatever that twist our ankle, cause us to fall, or just cause us to stumble. It's not the big rocks. It's not the trees that are falling in the woods that we see from a mile away, right? It's those small things, those basic things that we can lose track of that can really cause the greatest damage in our life if we're not on top of it. And a budget, is probably one of the most basic, easy things to manage and as well to lose control of. So when we're budgeting, what we want to do, let's jump right in. You want to write out everything for the month that you have to spend your money on to live. Now, I do want you to include a certain amount of money for discretionary spending, because if we're only working to pay our monthly expenses, that's a miserable existence. I hope that you guys have enough money to be able to enjoy yourself to a certain degree. But we want to start with our budget at the top. Rent, mortgage, whatever the case may be, whatever you're doing, renting or mortgage. And then after that, fuel for your car. If you don't have a car, your bus fare, your Uber. Some people just drive everywhere with Uber nowadays. Or a train. Some people take trains everywhere. Whatever the case may be, that cost, include that. If you do have a car insurance, groceries, cell phone, life insurance if you have it, internet and or cable, whatever you do, your streaming services, your provider, whatever the case may be, everything you have to spend your money on to live from month to month. That all has to be on a list, visible where you can see it. Then go ahead and add $200 to it of discretionary spending, or maybe your budget can't afford $200, maybe it's just $50. Go and add whatever amount of money you can that's discretionary spending, because again, we want to a certain extent, enjoy our money to the degree we can, in whatever manner we can, right? But go ahead and do that. And then start at the top of your monthly expense chart and add $20 to each expense. Here's the reason why. As humans, we are all too finite. We're all too fallible, if that's even the right word. I don't know. We make mistakes all the time. And most likely, you're going to make a mistake within your budget, within your day-to-day life. It's just going to happen. You're going to get swamped by events that take place, work, family, whatever the case may be, it's going to happen. So by putting in a dollar amount, let's say it's $20, a $20 increase to each monthly expense, you've given yourself a cushion. Let's say you have 10 items on your monthly budget that you have to pay to live. You've now given yourself a surplus of $200. That's a cushion built into your monthly budget, so that if something pops up, you have to fix a tire or you miss an expense and you get hit with an extra charge, hey, it's okay. You have extra money built into the budget to cover that. And if everything goes great, there's no TIB, the inevitable break. I'm going to go into that in a later video. Or you don't pay an expense late and don't get charged late fee. Well, now you have an extra $200 to go blow on yourself or to pay on debt or invest for retirement. It's a wonderful thing. Give yourself a cushion, guys. You can either walk through this life believing nothing bad is ever going to happen and therefore having nothing in place to protect yourself should it happen, or you can have a plan in place for the worst case scenario so that when it happens, it doesn't derail you, but instead maybe it's just a small bump in the road. So that's why we always want to add, in my humble opinion, you always want to add at least $20, or again, if your budget is maybe $5 or $10, add an extra cushion in there, an extra amount of money, add it on to it, because it's going to add up over the entirety of your budget. But again, it's going to give you that ability to, if something does happen, hey, it's okay. Built into the budget, you have a cushion. There's actually an accounting principle that talks about this. It's called making allowances. Basically, what it says is that, I'm paraphrasing, bear with me. But basically, the concept of making allowances is, if you're a business, you have 10 customers. The concept of making allowances, you basically build into the budget that one of those customers will not pay you. They either can't or won't. But out of the 10, only 9 will give you money. Now, that isn't ideal. I'm a business owner. If I have 10 customers, it's more profitable for me if all 10 customers pay me. But by facilitating your budget this way for businesses and also for you, by thinking this way, making allowances, even though you have 10 customers, understanding that probably 1, or in this case 10%, won't pay it, you can actually create a more concrete budget of gross profit and net profit as costs and et cetera, than if you just say, everyone's going to pay me, everything's going to be okay. So it's this concept of building in a cushion is actually a practical concept in accounting for the purpose of making sure that businesses have a more tangible and real budget and just sort of projection for their profits, gross profit and net profit. And I would encourage you to do that, because you set yourself up to win even in the midst of maybe making a mistake. Hey, we made a mistake. Hey, no problem. I put money back. It's not an issue. Oh, it's not a big deal. We got it taken care of. It's a much better way to behave and function than to just walk through your budgetary life thinking nothing's never going to, I'm never going to make a mistake. I'm never going to have to change a tire or whatever the case may be. And then when it happens, you just get blindsided and maybe you don't have the cash. So that's a powerful way to behave. And I'm going to leave you with one thing concerning the monthly budget. Stop calling them bills. Sometimes in my rant videos, I'm going to sound somewhat conspiratorial. I said that wrong. I will somewhat sound conspiratorial. That's better. Or sort of like a conspiracy theorist or a nut job. But I honestly believe that the term bill and how we use it and how we think about it, I think it's a mechanism of control, and it's also something where we as the society at large, a lot of times, and I've done it to myself, maybe you have too, we sort of rank and file our bills at what we have to pay first and what can wait. And really that I understand the reason why. It's because a lot of times, money's tight, finances are tight, it can get very difficult. And so we have to find a way to make it work. I understand that. But the truth is, that's a mentality of poverty. That's a mentality of control where the light company, the water company, the car company, whatever the case may be, they are controlling you, and they're making you think a certain way by exerting their will of, hey, you need to pay them, which is life, right? But thinking about it that way, it puts you, again, your back's against the wall. You are not taking control. Something simple you can do, which some of you are going to think this is sort of ridiculous, but it really is true. How we think about something really dictates the reality of it. Maybe you've heard the saying, perception is reality. Stop calling them bills and call them only expenses. Because when you go that route, one, businesses have expenses, right? Entrepreneurs have expenses. So you're already putting yourself mentally in a caliber above just somebody that, I just got to pay my bills, right? You're already putting yourself above in a better caliber, a higher way of thinking. But on top of that too, you're thinking about it more pragmatically. And you're probably not going to be like, well, you know, I can pay my light bill this week. I should pay the water bill, but you know, we can wet wipe it up. We don't have, we need the lights on. I gotta stream Netflix. Like maybe there are people that are that way, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, because I think part of what I want to do is be honest with you. There was a time when I was that way, when I was younger. You know, there was a time, you know, I had to sell my guitar amp just to pay my rent. And, you know, I'm glad those days are behind me, but it's a valuable lesson. So change the way you think about calling those monthly bills. I would stop it. It's going to be hard. You're going to hear me mess up too, because it's for years just been ingrained in me. But call it a monthly expense. That's a higher way of thinking about it. That's a higher level. That's choosing to think about your money and what you have to do monthly in a way that's really more affluent. And that's powerful. And then on top of that, as I said, write it out, but put it down on a notebook. Don't put it in your phone. Don't put it on your computer where it can hide away and be invisible. Go out and buy a notepad and take a pen or a pencil and write that down and keep it where it's at, where it's visible. Here's the reason why. If you look at your monthly expenses as if they're an enemy, let's say your apartment or your house, that's your home base, and the monthly expenses are the enemy that are coming at you on a regular basis to try to cause you hardship or take over your home base. Please bear with me. I know this is a little out of left field, but it's going to make sense. If you view your monthly expenses as if they're an enemy, you would agree, I would think you would agree, that an enemy you can see with your own two eyes is an enemy that's far easier to attack and to overcome. I think you would agree with that. If you disagree with that, stop the video right now and go watch the very first Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that movie will prove my point. The point is, however, always keep your monthly budget of your monthly expenses. Always keep it in front of you. Keep it where you can constantly see it, where you can focus on it. Not so that it's whipping you and it's causing you fear and frustration, and you're like, oh God, the budget, it won't let me go. No, not because of that, but because by you focusing on it and giving it the energy that is due, you can take control of it. It's extremely powerful when you decide to take control of those areas of your life that have been frustrating and that have been problematic, and it's easier to do so if you keep your eyes on the prize. For me, this is what my wife and I do. We write out the budget monthly, because there's some months we pay a debt off and we no longer have it. We try to keep it in front of us as best we can. And it works for us, and chances are there's at least 1 million people like me, it's going to work for you. So the first episode of Fury of the Northman, budgeting. Write all your expenses out, add that $5 to $10 to $20 cushion, and then keep it in front of you. Keep it somewhere. Don't put it in a place where it can be hidden. You never see it. You might as well have never done it. First episode, I'm super pumped. Thank you so much for watching. I know we covered a lot. I get super intense. This is going to be the channel. There's not going to be a lot of editing. I'm just rolling. I'm just going. So I'm excited. I hope you come back. Let's go.